mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 10, the season finale of FX's Shogun, entitled A Dream of a Dream. Now you guys know I don't read reviews or consume other people's content before I get my videos up, but I am curious to hear the general response from the fandom about this finale. The way I see it, it can be looked at in one of two ways, with the first being disappointment. Like, I'd imagine there are people out there who suspected some sort of epic Game of Thrones type battle before the show ends, and honestly, you wouldn't be wrong for expecting that. You know, they talked about this war all season, and it has been what's driven a lot of the main characters' actions. They even named the penultimate episode Crimson Sky, which was prior established as the name of Toranaga's war plan. And also, Game of Thrones has also conditioned us to expect these big moments in penultimate episodes. And I do think the show kind of took advantage of that expectation, and I feel like that could harm the overall perception of the show as a result. But like I said, I do think there's another way that one could view this finale. You could also see it as the perfect ending to the story that's been told this entire time. A story that's been centrally focused on the characters, their relationships with one another. That sounded weird. Their relationships with one another and their respective religions and their culture. And that's how I choose to see it. Yes, I wanted a big battle just as much as you guys did, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of deduct some points for not getting one. And it's not because I wanted a battle and didn't get it. It's mostly because I feel like they manipulated us into expecting a battle that they had no intention of providing. And I don't like that that pulling out of the rug from underneath us. But having said that, I think this story ended how it should have. Beautifully wrapping up all the plot points, character arcs, and themes that have been present throughout the season. Now, I will say this. Will this show place in my top 10 for 2024? Almost certainly. Will it get the number one spot or even land in the top 5? Probably not. But if you want to hear about some of the shows I'll likely have ahead of it, or why it likely won't land in the top 5, you'll probably want to join the Patreon for that. And on that note, hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not gonna lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. All right, so now let's talk about the finale. And I want to start by talking about a character who doesn't even appear in this episode, but is the driving force behind it and the season as a whole. Mariko, she's given the send-off that both her character and Anna Sawai richly deserve, as this entire episode, in a way, is dedicated to her and how her actions will ultimately bring peace in Japan. Early on, we see Ishido already feeling the pressure as no one approves of what happened to Mariko. The other regents call it dishonorable. Lady Achiba insists that Mariko be properly honored. And Toranaga's brother presents Ishido with a note from Toranaga that undoubtedly said, "Oh, bitch, it's on." In Japanese, of course. There's even a slight earthquake that everyone except Ishido takes as a bad omen, with Ishido even ignoring it still after Yabashika tells him that the same thing happened when the Taiko wanted to go to war with Toranaga. But now that Ishido is getting his war and his opportunity to kill Toranaga outright and fair and square, little else matters, so he releases the hostages. He allows Blackthorn to reunite with Yabashika, and of course Yabashika is allowed to live given his monumental treachery last week. And I think this is a good time to talk about Yabashika because for all the credit given to the Mariko character, Yabashika was a great one as well. He's not doing well in this finale, seemingly losing his mind out of guilt for his actions. When he's finally brought before Toranaga, everyone already knows he betrayed Mariko, which he then confirms once he's asked, and then he is sentenced to die. Well, sentenced to die makes it sound like someone else is gonna do it. He's sentenced to seppuku, which I think that would be a lot more accurate. He requests that Blackthorn be his second, which Toranaga rejects, and I'm kind of curious as to why, before Toranaga agrees to second Yabashika himself. I'm kind of wondering if despite Yabashika's actions, Toranaga thought that he deserved a better second than the punk-ass Anjin. Blackthorn's grown throughout the course of the show, but he's still punk-ass Anjin. When it's Yabashika's time to go, his character is given the perfect moment with Omi reading his laughably bad death poem, which is even funnier when compared to Mariko / Ochiba's. But I thought that was a great poem, especially, and it also ties into how he ranked the ways to die earlier in the season. So I thought that was a really fitting kind of. It's not his literal end, but close to his end. It's a part of his end. And we also finally get the full breakdown of Toranaga's plan, as well as learn about some unexpected events that will ultimately aid in his plan as well. So here's the deal. In 1 month, everyone's going to meet on the battlefield. However, we learned that an earlier correspondence that Toranaga received from Lady Ochiba states that Mariko's death has kind of soured her on Ishido as a whole, so he will no longer have the heir's banner and backing on the battlefield. You know, I said last week that Mariko's actions were probably the start of Crimson Sky, and to a degree I was correct. It's just that her actions were the entirety of it and not just the beginning. You know, I don't know if Toranaga sent her there to die. I personally believe that he did. But at best, he knew her death was a strong possibility, and at worst, he sent her there with knowing that was going to be the outcome. I don't think he anticipated the unexpected benefit of receiving Lady Ochiba's help, especially given her hatred of him. But Toranaga states that her support will cause the other regents and their armies to also abandon Ishido before a single blow has even been struck in this war. And again, this tracks with the story the show has been telling. I know we all wanted a big battle, but at every turn, when asked about war, Toranaga has stated his opposition to it and desire to avoid it. So it will feel like you just weren't really paying attention to the show if you're mad that we didn't get a battle. But it is what it is. Also, isn't it ironic that Ishido likely would have gotten exactly what he wanted if he had just let Mariko go? Like, I thought that was funny. I didn't think about that till after I watched the episode, but I'm like, if he just let her go, like, everything probably would have worked out in his advantage. Anyway, Toranaga closes by saying that his rule will be one of peace, which is, again, not at all surprising. Yabashika then asks if it was basically his desire the whole time to become Shogun, and he's kind of like, you can tell me, I'm dying anyway, so it doesn't even fucking matter. And Toranaga delivers, like, the line of the season in response. He's like, why tell a dead man the future? What's the point of that? Yabashika is then quickly relieved of his head. Now, I'll close by, of course, talking about Blackthorn, a character that both myself and Toranaga have had a tumultuous relationship with. Like I said earlier, Blackthorn's released, and he's allowed to go meet with Yabashika. He's escorted by Father Martin, who, after sharing a nice moment with Blackthorn about how Mariko would be happy they're getting along, he then proceeds to tell him that the plan was to kill him on the way anyway. We learn that Mariko made a deal, which Toranaga later assisted in carrying out, that Blackthorn be allowed to live, but also that his ship be destroyed. Blackthorn only finds out about the latter half of that deal once he returns to Yabashika's village. After a great scene with Fuji, where we learn that Toranaga has released her and she's now going to be allowed to live out her life as a nun, Blackthorn requests to meet with Toranaga as well. Toranaga promises to find the people in the village who destroyed his ship, but Blackthorn is done. He's done with the violence, he's done with the death, he's done with the beef over religion. He ends up apologizing to Toranaga for his behavior when Toranaga announced his surrender following his brother's arrival. But Toranaga refuses to end his search for the ship's destroyers, which is hilarious since he's one of them. And since Blackthorn believes Toranaga will be punishing innocent people, and he's got a ton of shit he's done to feel guilty over, Blackthorn says that he's the real betrayer and he's the real enemy, and then he threatens to kill himself as well. Just as he's about to do it, Toranaga stops him and recruits him to build himself a fleet and repair his own ship. Like, yeah, like you're not gonna die, and you're gonna fix your own ship, and you're gonna build me even more. Toranaga's not very kind in this moment. We later learned though that he was testing Blackthorn with the whole ship thing. You know, I wasn't a big fan of this scene, the seppuku scene for Blackthorn. It had no tension to it, and it had no tension because they inexplicably put that flash forward at the beginning of the episode that lets us know that Blackthorn reaches old age. Like, it since that scene barely served any purpose anyway, I kind of wish they just moved it so they could have preserved the tension in this scene, this seppuku scene with Blackthorn. Like, I think this scene works 100 times better if I think there's a chance that Blackthorn's gonna kill himself, which I did not because of that opening scene. If I hadn't had that opening scene where I saw that Blackthorn was old, I definitely think he's gonna kill himself in this moment, because it's the full circle of him coming there to cause trouble, him assimilating to the culture, and then assimilating to the point where he feels that this is his proper end. Like, it all works in a perfect kind of way. But like I said, it lost all of that tension with that having that scene where I knew he was gonna get old at the beginning of the episode. So the episode and season end with Buntaro, of all people, who I had been wondering about for the entire episode, motivating and helping others with pulling Blackthorn's ship out of the water. And I felt like this was, not this specific scene, but this episode was just a fitting end to a great show that I'm glad was made, and I'm glad that FX was willing to air. Because it was kind of a risk, right? You know, we're talking about a show that's like almost entirely in another language with subtitles, in multiple languages with subtitles. A culture that is unfamiliar and probably strange to a lot of modern day Americans. I think it was kind of a risk on FX part, and it's worked out wonderfully. I'm sure at worst, Anna Sawai is probably going to end up getting an Emmy nomination. At best, the show probably will as well. But yeah, great experience watching this show. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed my coverage. Let me know what you thought about this finale and the season as a whole in the comments. And until next time, peace.